Hi everyone, Quiveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are yet again going to take a look at the solstice, but we are going to look at the solstice in hopefully another slightly different way. In a recent video, we took a look at the solstice from the moon. We're here a few days before the solstice, so the moon is very close to the new moon. As we approach the solstice, we've got this nice conjunction between Venus and the moon coming up on the 17th, but the moon comes closer to full. Around the solstice, or on the solstice here on the 21st, we know that it's pretty much a half moon, the first quarter moon. And when we look at the Earth from a first quarter moon, the Earth also looks like a half. We get to see the daytime side, the terminator, and the nighttime side. We're going to come back before today, back to yesterday. We can see here the moon is pretty much in front of the sun. It's more or less a new moon. If we were on the new moon looking back at the Earth, what we would see is the daytime side. We would see the fully illuminated face of the Earth. And that is what I want to take a look at. We're not on the solstice because the new moon isn't on the solstice. So unfortunately, we can't get this view on the solstice. We could look at the Earth from the sun, but I want to take the view of the moon here. Hopefully I'll be able to get things looking almost the right way up. This is close enough. So we can see the Earth here rotating, and here is Europe. We can see again the island of Greenland. There's a little bit of a line here where it joins the Arctic ice sheet itself. As the Earth rotates, we can see that the Arctic stays in daylight, and even when Greenland is on the opposite side of the Earth to the sun, roughly, we are looking from the moon here, but we're looking at the Earth illuminated 98.1%, so the little bit of a shadow we're seeing here isn't going to interfere too much. But we can see sunlight is still falling on that part of the world. So for that part of the world, the sun isn't setting. That part of the world doesn't actually turn away from the sun because the Earth's axis of rotation is tilted towards the sun at this time of the year. There is a reasonable portion of the Earth, and we will now return to the Earth. There is a reasonable portion of the Earth that sees daylight all the way through the night around the night of the solstice. Of course, for the North Pole, for the very top of the planet, the midnight sun lasts for months, and there is a reasonably long transitionary period. For areas that are lower in the Arctic Circle, the midnight sun doesn't last for as long, and further down, under or outside the Arctic Circle, closer to the equator than the Arctic Circle, there are areas such as Ireland and large portions of England where twilight exists all night long, but the sun isn't actually above the horizon through the middle of the night on the solstice. So we're going to go, hopefully, to northern Norway here. This, I think there should be a slash through this O because that is a city very far north in Norway. And we can see here we're at 67 degrees north latitude, so we are quite far north. We're roughly on the Arctic Circle. We're definitely around the Arctic Circle here. So we're going to take a look this close to the solstice. We're only a few days from the solstice, and we're going to see what it looks like. We're going to stay focused on the sun here, but it's important to notice the land as well. So we can see the sun is still reaching its highest in the south, and it's dipping down towards the west. So the sun is still moving across the sky in the same way, going the same direction, and most importantly, it is still, well, the sun isn't moving. The sun is staying in one place, the Earth is turning, but its apparent position in the sky is changing. The sun doesn't just stay in one place. The Earth is still turning. The sun stays above the horizon when you're far enough north, even when the sun is to the north. You're essentially seeing the sun over the North Pole in that direction, because the sun is still above the horizon, just a little bit further north. Now here, it looks like the sun isn't above the horizon. It looks like the sun has actually set, but it's still basically daytime. Technically, it is very early twilight. It is civil twilight here, but there's no stars visible. Nothing is bright enough to shine through this glow. The moon would be, of course, but then again, the moon is visible during the day. Here, what we're going to do is remove the horizon so that we get a clearer view. We'll get rid of the trees and buildings so that we can see for sure. Well, there we go. The sun is still above the horizon. Tough to tell with the trees and buildings in the way, but this means it is absolutely still daytime. The sun is above the horizon, even when it reaches its lowest in the north. What I really wanted to illustrate here, it looks like we were briefly, let's bring that back a little bit. It looks like we were very briefly, yes, there's a very narrow crescent moon, not bright enough to be visible under most daytime conditions, but with the sun so close to sunset there, it just about peeked through. So what I really wanted to illustrate here is that the sun does still move across the sky. The sun doesn't rise in the east and set in the west because it doesn't set at all. But very similar to how the sunrise and sunset works here in Ireland and at more medium latitudes, the sun will rise further and further north and set further and further north as we approach the solstice. And here we are, far enough north, close enough to the solstice that the sun doesn't actually set at all. It skirts along the northern horizon from above and doesn't go underneath. What I really wanted to illustrate here is that the apparent position of the sun in the sky does change. The earth is still rotating and the sun does get lower as if it was about to set, but it doesn't quite make it. Now, we are fairly far north in Norway here, so I will pull us down a little bit lower. Of course, this is a very small map, so it's difficult to be precise. We're certainly lower further south here. Yeah, we're at 61 degrees north instead of 67, so definitely lower. But we are after moving a day or two forward as well. I do want to bring us back to a little before the solstice, and we'll see if the sun actually dips below the horizon. It does. So that looks like, yes, that is sunset. So the sun has dipped below the horizon there on the 16th. It is far enough below the horizon that we can see Venus as well as the moon. Just about here, we're still not exactly at UTC, but we're not at UTC +1. We're at UTC plus 43. So around there should be the absolute local midnight. And in the sky, there are stars visible, just barely. There's Vega, and that would be Arcturus down there, two of the brightest stars, just about. So this is from the 17th. Let's hop forward a couple of days. Yes, even there on the 21st, even on the solstice, it is still below the horizon. So, of course, this means we're too far south to get the midnight sun. We will go in between. Let's go to 64 degrees. Not quite. The sun isn't quite above the horizon just yet, even there on the solstice. And it's not quite above the horizon at midnight. That's really what we're looking for, at around the local midnight, so close to 12 o'clock. We may have been right at the edge of where it was visible, so we'll go to 66, and there's the sun above the horizon. We'll come back down to 65, and just barely. The sun is on the horizon there, but let's see if it does sink below entirely. It does not. So there's the sun just barely skirting the northern horizon. This is very much the in-between condition. The sun almost sets, doesn't fully set on the night of the solstice. Let's continue tracking the sun around the sky, but we'll come back here to the beginning of the 21st. We can see the sun coming up. It's reaching its highest in the south. Oh, lost track of it there for a second. Let's bring that back to its highest position in the south. Pretty high in the sky. Definitely a bright summer's day. And then we can see the sun coming down towards the west and just about touching the horizon, but not entirely sinking under it. And of course, this is with the distortion of the atmosphere. If we were on the moon, or if the Earth lost all of its atmosphere, the sun would absolutely be below the horizon. but we do have the atmosphere, and that's usually what we count. We don't worry about when the sun is actually above or below the horizon. We count the refraction of the atmosphere and factor that in. So there we go. We're here at just about, well, this is saying 61.87, but really measuring it in degrees and minutes of arc rather than measuring it decimally, where it's 65 degrees 52 minutes. But that brings us to a location where the sun skirts the horizon on the solstice, doesn't fully set, doesn't fully rise. But regardless of where you are, the Earth is turning, and so the apparent position of the sun in the sky will move with it. So I hope that you enjoyed that video. If you would like to see the solstice or around the solstice from some different views, like from the sun and from the half moon, the first quarter moon, you can take a look at one of the recent videos on this channel. You can also read this information on my website, queebeanscontent.ie. If you enjoyed this video, please do like it and make sure to subscribe to this channel. Most importantly, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.